Welcome. Scott here. Here is a quick boss guide for the upcoming story chapter, Act 4 Chapter 4 Part 2 Seeking Mother. The event synergy units Reno, Porom, Raijin, Vincent, Steiner and Vanille. Reno BT and Vincent FR will be making their debut. Both will get their reworks and FR boards. We will be fighting the Omega Weiss, which has 400 million HP. The boss is immune to Flames debuff, a debuff that it uses upon activating its force ability. The turn requirement is 55. The HP requirements is 8000. Before I continue further, here is a small disclaimer clause for the video. The guide is written based on the time that the event was released for the Japanese version. Please do note that it is possible that the boss fight mechanics might differ when the actual event is released in global. Like most other Shinryu fights, the boss gains increased brave damage and gain resistances at start of the fight and 79% HP threshold. Bringing a support like Iris, Setzer, Rosa, Braska, Rem, Yuna, Pernello, Charlotta, Aerith, Ramza, Selfa that grants damage boosting aura will make your fight easier. As the boss gains substantial boost to their defenses with the auras, it is important to inflict debuffs that lower their defenses. On the screen, I have listed down the examples of the key utility that you can consider for this fight. To cancel the boss force time, you will need to use either a ranged or melee FR. There is abundance of them. Examples are Reno, Vincent, Kor, Orin, Ursula, Weiss, Dorgan, and Warrior of Light. Usually when we see single target boss fights, we most likely will deploy a rush-down team comp that includes launches, delay, and follow-up attack. However, the fight has mechanics that you will need the boss to take at least 3 turns in order to kill it due to its red aura mechanics. Avoid bring heavy delayers like Quistis. You can still bring units like hard-hitting single units like Noctis, Arania, or BT Aurabots like Iris or Sephiroth, but you need to be mindful that you need to allow the boss take turns to remove the red aura. At the 79%, 49%, and 19% HP threshold, a prompt readying a powerful attack on the next turn, will allows the boss to gain a red aura that raises its speed by 100% and preventing it from getting KO, as its HP will never drop below 1% until the aura is diffused. The aura trigger can occur even during your summon or burst phase. To defuse the aura, the following condition must be met: the boss needs to use Flare Shell attack on its following turn. Please do note that if the boss is under Do Not Act status like Paralysis, Confusion, or HP Silence when it takes a turn with the red aura, the boss won't be able to use Flare Shell, thus you won't be able to remove the red aura. In short, the best way to handle this mechanic is to tank the HP attacks. By using AOE damage mitigators like Warrior of Light, Beatrix, Zack, or Rem with her BT aura active, you can eat the incoming HP attacks without any difficulty. The usual cover tanks like Orin, Golov, Ruby Conte, or follow-up or trap attackers like Quina, Ace are useful here as well. The boss force ability has a nasty permanent debuff called Flames. Flames is a debuff that inflicts HP poison that scales 90% of the unit. The affected unit is also unable to heal itself or gain any brave. You can negate that with debuff negation like Reno LD, Raijin LD, or Weiss BT aura. Likewise, you can block the debuffs with debuff evasion units like Aerith, Lena, or Afma. If you ever got inflicted with the debuff, do remember to cleanse it as soon as possible and heal back up so you can meet the HP requirements. Overall, this is a straightforward fight. Having strong damage mitigation and deploy a hit and counter run will have a significant easier time. If you want to do a rush down phase and tank the boss incoming Flare Shell 3 times, make sure you have damage mitigation options to tank those attacks, as you need to give the boss turns to trigger Flare Shell to remove the aura before you can kill it. As we are no longer have Vanille plus fights, the boss guide will be focused primarily on Shinryu fights. In Shinryu, you need to understand the effects gained by the boss as the force gauge build up, its force ability and its force time effect. As your party has low force levels, it is highly certain that the boss force gauge will build up faster than yours. To have a better understanding on the basics of the force gauge mechanics and Shinryu fights, I have done a video explaining the mechanics. I have included the link to the video under the comments and video description for your quick reference. Throughout the fight, the boss will also gain 4% charge rate up when your party members act. The boss force gauge has another threshold at the 30% mark. When the boss gauge is more or equal to 30%, the boss will increases its attack, defense, and brave damage by 50%. The boss force gauge will build up faster as its HP is lowered. You can refer to the table on the screen for the percentages. At the 100% threshold, the boss will use its force ability, Reaper++ and activates its force time for 10 turns. The boss force ability, Reaper++, will result the boss recovers from break, deal a guaranteed hit AOE melee brave plus HP attack. It will also inflict the Flames debuff, a debuff that triggers HP poison that scales off 90% of your max HP, prevent the affected target from gaining brave or heal back the HP damage. The debuff is a permanent debuff and has no duration. To prevent the debuff, it is highly recommended to use debuff negation utility like Reno LD, Raijin LD, or activate Weiss BT aura if you have. Debuff evasion units like Aerith, Aphma, or Lena could also prevent it. If you got inflicted by the debuff, you can just cleanse the debuff and heal back up your HP. Upon using the force ability, the boss will enter into its force time where the gauge will start to emit a red hue with a counter of 10 on its gauge. When the force time is activated, the bosses will gain an enhancement that will applies an aura that raises its speed up or turn rate up by 50%. If the boss has no red aura active, it will use Reaper, which is an guaranteed hit, brave gain and 14 AOE brave plus HP attack during its force time. If the boss has red aura active, it will use scripted flare shell first and revert to Reaper on its following turn unless you trigger the red aura again. To deal the boss force weakness, you need to use a melee force or ranged ability while dealing brave damage. Generally, there are a lot of the units that will meet the requirements. If you have been constantly upgrading your roster with various FR, you should have a lot of options that could cancel the aura. Now, let us go through the fight key mechanics. When the boss HP got depleted to 79%, 49%, and 19% HP threshold, the prompt, readying a powerful attack on the next turn will appear. The boss will gain a red aura that boosts its speed by 100% and most importantly allow it gain immunity to KO where its HP will not drop below 1% until the red aura is removed. The aura will be activated even during your burst or summon phase. On its next turn, it will use Flare Shell provided that you are not in either your summon or burst phase. Do take note that Flare Shell will not trigger if the boss is not under the influence of do not act debuffs like paralysis, confusion, or HP silence debuffs. Flare Shell is a reset break status, followed by a brave gain of 150% of the boss initial brave, followed by an AOE brave plus HP attack execute twice. Do be aware that this attack has very strong brave potencies and double HP attacks that could bypass a unit's last stand. Make sure you have a damage mitigation utility ready when you let the boss have a turn. After the bosses have used the Flare Shell, you will see the prompt calm down, where the boss will dispel its red aura. The boss has a basic attack rotation. It will rotate between Omega Missile and a generic brave attack. If its brave is high, it will use a HP attack. Omega Missile is a single melee brave plus HP attack. So, what happen if you have skipped the thresholds? If you have lowered the boss HP threshold from 80% to 18% in a FR powered burst phase, the boss use Flare Shell on its turn and immediately reactivate the readying a powerful attack on the next turn, thus regaining the red aura. In short, you need to be ready to tank the Flare Shell attack 3 times throughout the entire fight. For damage mitigation call, you can consider Raijin LDCA, Reno LDCA, Warrior of Light LDCA or 9 LDCA. Beatrix can nullify incoming HP attacks with her Holy Knight Safeguard, Warrior of Light can negate any attacks if his shields is active, but make sure you have beefed up his shields enough so that the shields does not get shredded into pieces by the boss. ZAC-BT Aura can direct any HP attack to himself and he will eat those HP attacks like a sponge. His weapon resist down utility from his S1 can be very useful here as well. Rem can allow the party to survive the HP attacks with her party-wide immortality aura. Other options include Aerith Gold framed buff, or you can consider brining budget options like Bash or Porom to soak up the HP attacks. In additional to damage mitigation call, you might double up the protection with Brave Control utility like Setzer or Cater Freeze debuff, or prevent the boss gains with Yuffie no cheating debuffs or Karasame BT aura. Do be mindful that the boss Flare Shell and Reaper attacks have lots of brave hits and high brave potencies. It is important to constantly keeping the boss debuffed with attack down and lower its brave gain with initial brave down debuffs. If you want to be ultra safe, you can bring units with party wipe last stand units like Porom, Freya, or Queen. Be mindful that these units have very dated kit. Rose's re-raise can be useful as well. Lastly, the boss have a massive ton of HP at 400 million, so don't expect the fight to finish fast like most other fights unless you have a team with maxed Ultima weapon. You can go either with one of the following strategies, using a hit and counter run, or do a rush down team comp to nuke the boss HP down to 1%. Give the boss 3 turns and tank those Flare Shell HP attacks before finishing it up once the red aura is gone for good. With the boss mechanics explained, let us proceed to the unit's FR Burst Kit review. Before I end the guide, let us cover a bit on the returning featured FR unit, Reno. Reno gets a slight rework to his damage potencies and buffs effect. Like the previous rework, his num is still a useless button to use and a bit counterintuitive to his kit. His FR is an AOE melee brave plus HP attack executed 3 times and inflicts his pyramid debuff. Pyramid is a great damage mitigation debuff that causes the boss to deal 0 brave and HP damage while preventing them from inflict debuff. However, the debuff will dispel once they act using either a brave or HP attack. Let us recap on his force conditions. You will gain 20% HP damage bonus for using a thunder attack. Reno is a thunder elemental unit, so you will not have problems in meeting this condition on his turns. However, his teammates will not be able to meet this condition unless they are thunder elemental or you enchant with a thunder elemental enchant call like Kryl, Ash, or Garnet. Although Garnet calls provide the longest duration of thunder enchant buff, make sure she has her EX plus passive since her holy prayer buff is tied to that. When the boss takes a turn, you will get 20% HP damage bonus. If the boss uses a melee or ranged attack, you will get another 30% HP damage bonus. Reno FR is a off-turn oriented FR. Have a look at the enemy's moveset before deciding whether to use his FR. Against magic-based bosses it will not be that effective fighting against physical damage dealing boss. Pair Reno with counter or trap units to abuse his force time condition. Examples of unit that are good partner with Reno are Beatrix, Core, the counter tanks, Orin, Glove, Gladio, non-elemental trap units like Quina, Ace etc. Despite being an old FR, this FR is quite viable as long as you can meet the setup requirements and the boss is using mainly melee or ranged attacks. If not, it is still a very good FR echo since Pyramid is a very good damage and debuff negation utility. Let me cover a bit on his BT aura. The BT aura lasts for 6 turns. Upon using his BT finisher, Reno will deal an AOE melee brave plus HP attack and inflict the pyramid debuff on all targets. Like most BT, Reno BT gives the following aura upon activation: it will raise both your brave damage and brave damage cap by 50%, HP damage by 20% and max brave cap by 30% for the party. While the BT aura is active, Reno's HP command will change to Turk's combo. Turk's combo is an AOE brave plus HP attack with 11 HP dumps. The attack will apply the pyramid debuff and delay all allies' turn except Reno's and charges Reno EX gauge by 20%. This is very useful when using his FR phase. Giving the boss more turns means your HP damage bonus will charge up faster during his force time. Even without his BT, Reno is still a very viable FR-only unit option. His banner is a great banner for new players since it is also featuring the best debuff negation LDCA in Raijin. I strongly recommend you to get Raijin LDCA if you have not gotten it. It is very useful and important for boss no-turn strategies. Now let us cover the guy who is sleeping in a coffin. Fortunately, Vincent did get a decent rework and is not a dead-on-arrival unit. His brave potencies no longer rely on AOE targets. The fact that the boss is a single target boss showcase that. His Chaos Saber has been reworked with more HP dumps as well. Let me talk about his FR. Upon using his FR, he deals an AOE ranged Brave plus HP attack while inflicting 4 debuffs, 80% initial Brave down, Fire resist down, Thunder resist down and 80% attack down generic debuffs for 4 turns. During his force time, if the boss has a debuff inflicted, the party will gain aura that boosts their HP damage up by 50% and max Brave cap by 50%. If you met the conditions, this is one of the strongest FR phase available. Let us go through the force conditions. Attacking a debuffed enemy will get you 5% HP damage bonus. You can inflict up to 8 debuffs on an enemy, so you will get 40% max from this condition. Vincent himself can inflict 1 framed debuff along with 4 generic debuffs. You just need to get 3 more debuffs and you will get the max condition. His BT aura will be useful to prevent the boss from gaining buffs, so you will not face the risk of his debuffs get overwritten by boss buffs. Dealing elemental weakness damage will get you 35% HP damage bonus. As long as the boss isn't immune to elemental weakness or absorb fire or thunder element, you won't have difficulty in meeting this condition. Pair Vincent with elemental units to take advantage of the condition. Likewise, you can also bring fire enchant or thunder enchant calls to enable your non-elemental units to meet the conditions. The FR conditions is generic and easy to fulfill. So long that the boss does not absorb fire or thunder or immune to elemental weakness or debuffs, you can easily meet both HP damage conditions. However, Vincent Imperil debuffs are unframed. Overloading with too much framed debuffs may cause you unable to meet the conditions. You can throw in a framed fire imperil debuffs with neon debuffs or pair him with units that can inflict thunder framed imperil debuffs like Reno or Rex. Let us cover a bit on his BT aura. His BT aura lasts for 10 turns. Like other BT aura, the aura raises the party 50% brave damage cap and 30% max brave cap. All the auras embedded in Vincent's BT affect the enemy more than your party. While the aura is active, the boss's max brave, attack, defense, and speed will get reduced by 50%. Their HP damage will be reduced by 30% and their brave resistance will also get reduced by 30%. Most importantly, the BT aura prevent bosses gaining buffs. This is very useful for bosses who buff themselves often. The BT aura also helps to reduce the risk of your debuffs getting overwritten by the enemy buffs. So, is Vincent a worthwhile investment? He is good if you can form up the team comp to play to his strengths. You can bring debuffers to team up with him, but you also need to ensure that their debuffs do not override his generic fire and thunder imperil debuff. If you can meet those conditions, you will gain access to one of the strongest FR aura boosts in the game. His banner is also good if you are hunting for more Vanille sphere, so you can slot that spheres for units to abuse that wonderful dispel utility upon inflicting a break. Steiner is also a very underrated LDCA. With this, I have come to the end of my boss guide presentation. Hopefully you find it useful. If you like the video, please give a like. Please subscribe to my channel for future gaming content. Good luck for the fight in the coming days. Bye.